Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emily, and today we're going to talk about the books that I read in the first week of the Classics-a-thon. So if you're watching it on the day it comes out, which is Saturday, May 11th, it is currently Friday, May 10th as I'm filming this, and it has been a little bit over a week, right? It's been like 10 days, but because of the way the month falls, I decided to do this one 10 days, and then the rest of my updates will be proper 7-day updates. So for Classics-a-thon, I have made myself a proper TBR of 12 books that I want to get to. I have this list right here in my bullet journal. So the books that I wanted to read this month are The Great Gatsby, Tuck Everlasting, Island of the Blue Dolphins, Emma, The Bell Jar, Jane Eyre, and then along with that, My Plain Jane, even though it's not a classic, it's a retelling, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Watership Down, Beowulf, Brave New World, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, and Romeo and Juliet. So I talk about almost all of these in my announcement for the Classics-a-thon, so I will link that video down below, but basically that's kind of my TBR. But other than those 12 books, I'm just trying to read as many classics as I can. These first 10 days I read 2 books that were on that list and then 3 other books, so I'm going to talk about the physical books I read first and then I will move on to the audiobooks. The first physical book that I read is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I really liked this one. This is an abridged version of Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, so it wasn't like the full version, which I didn't have any qualms with. I felt like they kept in everything that was really, really important. The illustrations were gorgeous. The editing for this definitely could have been better. There were some parts in this book where they like repeated a sentence that was at the very top of the page, and I was like, you should have caught that, especially in a picture book. But all in all, I wasn't too upset about it. I did give this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next physical book that I read is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and it is illustrated by Camille Rose Garcia. I love this copy so much. I got it downtown Toronto, and the illustrations are so freaking beautiful. I felt like they added a lot to the story and I loved it so much. The story, I didn't realize how different the movie is from the book, which I guess like obviously all movies are different from the book, right? But because I've seen so many different movie versions of Alice in Wonderland and I've been in the musical, I kind of had an idea of what the story was, and the original book is very different from all of the adaptations of it. So that was really interesting. And I loved this book so much. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The last physical copy that I read this week was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've talked about this on my channel before. I love The Great Gatsby. I really, really like the movie adaptation that has Leonardo DiCaprio in it because I think it's so fascinating. If you haven't seen it, it's set in the 20s, right? But they use modern day music, like they have Lana Del Rey's Young and Beautiful, and it's just, it adds like a new dimension to it. I thought it was really, really well done. This book is so good. I think every single human being should read The Great Gatsby. The ending gets me every single time. The writing is beautiful. It's a fairly short book, so you can get through it in like one sitting, and it's just incredible. Obviously, I gave this one 5 out of 5. Lastly, I will talk about the 2 audiobooks that I read this month. The first audiobook was Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. This one, I got it last year. It was an Audible Daily Deal. That's basically how I got, I think, every single classic that I have. So I listened to it and it was so good. Obviously, it's a children's book, so it's like I'm almost 20. It's not my age group, but I was still able to enjoy it. All the stories are so sweet. The narration was incredible, the way he did all the different voices. They had like foresty sound effects and like birds chirping and rain and music, and it was just a lovely experience. I know that's like a really, really good audiobook for children. I think that if I had like a small human in my life, I would definitely get them to listen to that audiobook because I think it was just so well done. I gave Winnie the Pooh 4 out of 5 stars. And then the other audiobook that I listened to this month was The Call of the Wild by Jack London. Wow. I've never heard anyone really talk about The Call of the Wild other than to be like, yeah, The Call of the Wild by Jack London, it's so good. And it was incredible. I had no idea that it was about a dog, but it follows this little dog, Buck, and I say little, he's really like half St. Bernard, half Shepherd, but he's a little guy. So it follows Buck, and he lives with like some super rich guy and then gets sold off to the dog sledding trade and kind of passes from owner to owner to owner. And it was so good. Obviously, there are some really problematic stuff in the way that certain minority groups are described. Indigenous Canadian peoples as well as Black people are described using very derogatory terms, and that is definitely problematic. But since this is a classic, obviously it was written in a different time, and I still think it's really important for people to read books like this to understand why we don't use terminology like that anymore, and I think it brings about a really important discussion about the way we treat other people and the way we treated other people in history. I really liked The Call of the Wild. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I will definitely read more Jack London in the future. As I said, I really want to keep an open mind when I'm reading classics because of the problematic content that some of them have. But I still think that you're able to enjoy the story and take away the parts that are problematic and understand why they are problematic. And I think if you can understand that and understand why it's a problem, then that's really important. I feel like I'm kind of rambling here, but I think you guys get what I mean. We just really need to be careful about the way that we treat other people and portray other people in literature, and we need to make sure that we keep making these strides to make the world a better place for everyone. With that, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next week with the next wrap-up, and I hope you're enjoying Classics-a-thon. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these classics, or if you are reading any classics for Classics-a-thon. I would love that. You can follow me on Twitter, and I talk a lot more about the books I'm reading there. So thank you again, and I will see you all in the next video.